And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder, week 13, end of the regular season. We got an interesting stuff to talk about today. So I guess we'll get started. Thursday night, Ole Miss knocked off Mississippi State 17-7.
Watched this game last week. If you watched the video, I was excited about having this game on Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Always love this game on Thanksgiving. Gives me excuse to, not that I needed it, but it gives you excuse if you need to leave wherever you're at. Mm-hmm. Go home with a full belly. It's a big old plate of leftovers and go watch the Egg Bowl. A few years ago, Texas was playing on Thanksgiving night. So whatever game you got going on Thursday night is always a great game to have to watch after you eat. But this was a good game. Egg Bowl always is a great game, never really disappoints. Mm-hmm. Mississippi State has been the underdog the last couple of years, but they pulled a few of them out. And this game was no different. Ole Miss is a vastly superior football team.
Right.
And Mississippi State came to play. It was in Start Vegas. This is the third coach in the past, year and a half. So things haven't been really great for Mississippi State on that front. Interim head coach had him ready to go. Mm-hmm. Will Rogers looked good. If you're not familiar with Will Rogers, he's an excellent quarterback. We've been at Mississippi State now for a good 3 to 4 years, and he noted after the game he was transferring. Somebody's going to get a really good quarterback. And he's basically been playing with a hodgepodge offensive line, and they've got good wide receivers. They're not elite by any stretch of the imagination, but they're talented enough in that Mike Leach offense. And then, this year was a little different. They ran the ball more, but they don't really have too many great running backs. This kid's a really good quarterback. But they came to play. It was a difficult win for Ole Miss, and they ended up pulling it out. And, got to give credit to the guy, Quayshawn Junkins had a good game. Jackson Dart didn't have a great game, but it was good enough. And, Lincoln Riley. Yeah. Lane Kiffin. Got to give him credit. This is, I think, their best season. I think somebody said this is the second time they've ever won 10 regular season games. So they're looking at a New Year's Six bowl game easy.
Yeah. So moving right along, we got Oregon knocked off Oregon State 31-7. Bo Nix looked good again.
He looked really good. Their whole team looked good. They just find a way to score really quickly. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the Chip Kelly Oregon Ducks. And Oregon State looked a lot better playing Washington a few weeks ago. Granted, that game was in the freezing rain. External factors there contributed to some of that game, but they just didn't look ready to go. Oregon had their number from the opening whistle. And Oregon, I'm picking them to win the Pac-12 championship. I'm sure we'll get there in a few minutes, but they look good. Yeah. Bo Nix, easy. I know Jaden Daniels had a really good game yesterday, but just something about the way Bo Nix is playing. He's got to win the Heisman. I think they're trying to give it to Daniels already. Mm-hmm. I think it's Bo Nix.
Yeah, we'll see. Moving right along, Texas knocked off Texas Tech 57-7 in dominant fashion. Texas getting ready for the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I watched this game, and this was I had to turn to the Oregon game after a while because it was just absolute destruction. Mm-hmm. Quinn Ewers looked good. He didn't look great. He didn't have to do a whole lot.
Right.
They look good, though. The offensive line looks good. The defensive line looks really good. That tight end number 0 they got looks great. The wide receivers are phenomenal. Worthy and Mitchell out there. And then there's the other guy. I forgot his name. He's got the long dreadlocks. Everybody just forgets about that dude, and he just makes plays. Running backs are pretty good. This is what I wanted to see from them. They had been looking kind of crappy the last few weeks. Didn't really look dominant at all. Mm-hmm. And they kind of rated the ship look dominant going into the Big 12 championship.
That's right. Missouri knocked off Arkansas 48-14. Another dominant performance by Missouri.
Ugly game. I watched this thinking, what is going on with Arkansas? They have no players. None of them are good. Mm-hmm. I feel bad. I like Sam Pittman. I really do. They're just bad at football. And I just felt bad for him because he's probably going to get canned. Wouldn't surprise me to see him get fired tomorrow. Wouldn't surprise me also to see them keep him one more year, see if he can kind of fire some other coaches. I know they got a new offensive coordinator, and they look good against Florida. Maybe that could be like, okay, give us some time. Yeah. Give us the portal. Give us recruiting. They're not going to recruit, but they're going to get portal guys. Maybe they can get Will Rogers. You never know. Give them some time. It wouldn't surprise me either way.
Yeah.
Missouri looks good, though. Give it up to them. 10-win season. God, Schrader's got to be the SEC Player of the Year. Yeah, they're probably going to give it to Jaden Daniels, but I think that dude deserves the SEC Player of the Year. They got good wideouts. Brady Cook's okay, not spectacular. He threw for 112 in this game. And Schrader went for over 200 bills. Defense looks pretty good. Their NIL law that the state of Mississippi signed, they're going to get some dudes. They already got a couple in the recruiting class. They're going to get some more dudes at early signing day, and things could be looking really good for Missouri coming, next few years.
Things are getting interesting in the SEC for sure. Penn State knocked off Michigan State 42-0. Yep.
We've talked about Penn State before on this video and this channel. They're a 10-2 team at best, and that's what they did. They beat up on crappy, inferior competition, and they lose to the teams equal or better than them. That's who Penn State is right now. You really can't hate that, but I expected them to do this to poor Michigan State.
Oklahoma knocked off TCU 69-45.
Didn't see any of this game. I mean, it was on. I just didn't watch it.
Iowa, Nebraska.
Yeah.
13-10.
And then Iowa gets to play for the Big Ten championship next week. It's absolutely stupid. And Michigan is going to boat race them.
Yep.
Glad they're changing that for next year, but still.
This is the way the cookie crumbles, I guess you could say. Georgia knocked off Georgia Tech. Georgia, to me, looked a lot better than the 31-23 score would indicate, but they had a lot of people out. There was a lot of refs calling some odd plays.
Offensively, they looked better than the score indicated. I thought defensively, they didn't play very well. They gave up 13 points in the first half, and they gave up 10 in the second half, but they made adjustments at halftime. Tech didn't score to basically the end of the game. Right. They got a field goal and touchdown kind of late. Ended up not really mattering. They scored. It wasn't really. I guess it was garbage time. It was 31, I think 13 or something like that. 31-16 at the end of the game. They scored a garbage time touchdown. I really didn't like the way they scored there. Would have liked to see the Georgia defense keep them out, but they ran an offense that I don't think Georgia's really seen this year. But you got to give credit to Georgia Tech. They came to play. They were like, look, we've lost a lot of, Kirby's first year they lost. They won. So what's that, like 6 years? They've lost 6 in a row. They've lost like 12 out of the last 13. They needed to come in and change something. That's what I thought they did. They're a much improved team. Georgia offensively was able to pretty much do what they want, especially in the run game. Both Milton and Edwards ran the ball efficiently. Milton had a huge game. Beck had an interception that really wasn't his fault. They were without arguably their 3 best pass catchers, who were basically healthy scratches. He was getting them ready for next week. But you wanted to see Georgia dominate a little bit more, in my opinion, in this game. I think this was a little bit more a competitive game than they anticipated. And they were like, oh, crap, we got to get our stuff in gear,
Well, credit Georgia Tech. They are trending in the right direction. They get the right coach, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia scored 10 points in the second half, so did Tech. But Georgia also scored 2 touchdowns that were called back due to some very, very questionable calls. And they basically moved up and down the field at will. They did a Mongolian death march inside the 10, and that's where Beck threw a pick. So they basically had 21 points taken off the board for him.
But Kendall Milton, I think, was the story of the game. He was really looking dominant out there.
He's been looking really good the last few weeks. And maybe he heard me shitting on him for the past couple of years. Him not being an SEC caliber back. He's looking a lot. He's looking very much like an SEC caliber back last few weeks.
Finally. Ohio State loses to Michigan yet again, 30-24.
3 in a row. I watched this game, and I'll get right to it. The talk of this game the last 2 years was how Ohio State was soft. And I saw some people throwing that on Twitter today, and I disagreed because we talked about Mongolian death marches a few minutes ago. When they needed a touchdown, they did a Mongolian death march of their own. 8 straight run plays, punched in with Travion Henderson. They looked good. They were stopping the run. Blake Corum had 88 yards, but like almost half of them were on one run. They were stuffing Michigan's run. Michigan doesn't throw very well. And that was my concern with them going into the game. I thought Ohio State, they got down early because they threw a pick and they let Michigan get inside the 10, score a touchdown, and it was 4th and goal when they got the touchdown. I really felt Ohio State could have had him, and they had him on the ropes, and they just couldn't convert. Even that last drive, up until the interception, I was in all confidence that Ohio State was going to score a touchdown and win the game. Because early on, there was a 3rd and 5 where they called some dumbass wide receiver screen. Instead of trying to just get a few yards, maybe let JJ run, putting the game away with a touchdown. Instead, they had to kick a field goal. A touchdown would have won it for Ohio State. I thought Ohio State played well. I thought they were physical on both lines of scrimmage. They were pushing Michigan's defensive line around. But Michigan got the stops when they needed. It was more along the lines of like a pressure, key pressure at the key time. It was a game that it could have went either way, in my opinion. I give credit to Michigan. They pulled it out. Interim coach, I thought, called a very good offensive game. There was some really good 4th down calls. There was a couple of really nice plays to the tight end. Number 18 looked great. The lucky touchdown to, God, now I forgot his name. What was it? Roman Wilson. Splitting 2 guys. Safety basically turned around and ran towards the wide receiver. He's facing that ball. That's a pick. And they still almost strip it from him going in the end zone. So just one play kind of goes Michigan's way. It's kind of the tail of the ball game, really. But 3rd loss in a row to Michigan from Ohio State. Ryan Day is going to be hearing it. I still think it's stupid as crap to fire that guy. 57-7 and 3 of the 7 losses to Michigan. I know how much that game means to those 2 teams, but let's freaking be rational, all right? They're in the hunt every year. Who else are you going to get? They're going to bring Urban Meyer back? They're going to get somebody else? They're going to promote Heartline? They're going to try to go out and get somebody else? It's not guaranteed to work. I think that, the dude knows what he has to do to win. He's passionate about the school. He knows he has to be more physical. He's been more physical this year.
You just snake bit by Michigan.
Yeah, and look, once this Michigan class, I think, kind of bails to the NFL, and they're recruiting better than Michigan by a landslide. Look, I don't think Harbaugh's going to be there next year. I think Ryan Day, he's the guy. Just keep him there.
Moving right along, Washington takes down Washington State in a squeaker. 24-21. Washington, credit them. They're 12-0.
I watched this game, and for so many games now, Washington just playing with fire. It's like they want to lose. And this game was basically no different. They needed some plays to make some plays late, and you give them credit, they made them. They needed those plays to win the game. Washington State came to play. It's one of the best games I've seen. I've watched him 5 or 6 times this year. This is one of the best games I've seen him play. Ward played out of his mind. Defense was good. The wideouts were good. Everybody was good. It's a hard-fought game. Washington prevailed. They just have a few more athletes, in my opinion. Field goal kicker kicked the game-winning field goal and got a scholarship after the game. So good for
what's his name?
Cross. It was Gross, something like that. They pronounce it like Gross. Anyway. Feel-good story of the game. Big win for Washington. They're on the way to have a rematch against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. I think it's going to be a great game. But you know what? They played like crap last few weeks, but they just found a way to get it done, so you got to give them credit.
Credit Washington. Next couple games we're going to talk about are kind of like the stories of the day. Florida State. Florida State won 24-15, but Florida had them on the ropes for most of the game.
First half, it was all Florida. It was 12-0 going almost to the end of the half. They had Florida State behind the sticks, and the Florida defensive lineman spit in the Florida State guy's face. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. They go on a death march of their own, punch it in with under a minute left to go in the half, score a touchdown. It's 12-7. That was a turning point in the game. I thought Studemaker played fairly well. Rudemaker. So he didn't play great. Right. He didn't play bad. He got his bell rung. That's another thing. He goes out running. And I saw this in the highlights. I didn't really watch a whole lot of this game. He slides like 3 yards prior to the first down, but 2 Florida guys basically
converge.
Human missile on the guy, targeting. Florida's not going bowling, so it don't matter. That guy's out in the game. First down, they go in and score a touchdown. Just the same kind of errors we've seen from Florida all year long. And they had him. They had him in the first half, but that's why you play 2 halves.
That's right.
Credit to Florida State for finding a way to win. These top teams, when they don't have their A game, they find a way to get it done. Just like this next game we're going to talk about.
Alabama, Auburn. Alabama won 27-24, but that's not the story of the game. Auburn came to play.
They did.
They had these guys on the ropes.
Once again, for the second straight game in Jordan-Hare, Auburn has Alabama on the ropes. The 2 years ago, it was a much, much better Alabama team than this one. But Hugh Freeze knows how to beat Alabama. He knows how to play him. He's in Nick Saban's head. And they came to play. But just like Florida State, just like Washington, the elite teams find a way to win. And I went out with the wife for dinner, and we watched basically a fourth quarter of TV at the restaurant. 2 different televisions on the wall. One was about 30 seconds ahead of the other. The one that was slow had a group of Auburn fans watching. The one that was, we'll call it on time, for lack of a better term, we had a group of Alabama fans watching. And I'm watching kind of both of them. And me and my wife are just sitting there at a table, eating dinner, just talking and not really paying attention to anybody else, but just watching the game. And I told her, and it will look bleak for Alabama. I told her, I said, look, Alabama's going to find a way to win this game. I'll lay money down right now on the table. They're going to find a way to win this game, and they did. But they didn't deserve that game.
No.
And that was the very last play of the game. As good of a game as Hugh Freeze coached, as good of a game as Auburn played, the last play was a head scratcher. You rush 3, you drop 8. Don't have any problem with that. I would have preferred the 8 guys to play zone. It's basically 3rd and goal or 4th and goal from like the 33, 34-yard line. Technically, they could have got a first down, I think, inside the 2.
Knock it down.
Knock it down, number 1. Maybe play zone. They had everybody doubled up except for the 2 outside guys. But my problem was you rushed 3, but you really didn't. You let one guy drop back a few yards to spy Jalen Milroe. What the hell is he going to do? It's 4th and a mile. Let him escape the pocket. Let him run. He already had a penalty to going over the line of scrimmage to throw the football. Let him go over the line. You got 8 guys back there, 8 of your best athletes, your DBs and linebackers, who are faster than your linemen, obviously. 8 guys back there. As long as he doesn't get to the freaking 2-yard line, you're golden. 8 guys to tackle that one dude. And they just let him throw it up man-to-man coverage. Auburn DB wasn't turning around. Isaiah Bond, 5-star recruit, wide receiver, made a play.
Yes,
he just threw it up. I don't care what Milroe said after the game about the Heisman. I don't care what anybody says. He was throwing up as a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
It was fairly decent coverage. Yeah. The dude just jumped up, made a play, game over. They had a 0.1% win probability. This is the second time this has happened to Auburn at the end of the game when they had Alabama beat at home. Fans are stunned. There were people crying. Which I thought was funny because I don't like Auburn. But I mean, if you had Alabama beat, you could have. They hate each other so passionately. You could have been the team responsible for knocking them out of playoff contention. And they were my pick to win the national championship. I haven't changed that pick. Now Auburn, because they screwed the pooch, could have just let their arch rival go in and win another natty.
Yeah. Kentucky knocked off Louisville 38-31, and Kentucky looked good, looked real good.
They did. I had this game on in the other room, and I was kind of walking back and forth. My daughter was home. And she was playing in her room, and I was kind of walking back and forth between 2 rooms to have this game was on, and then the other room I was watching the games. I was flipping back and forth. And Kentucky was down. We got to give them credit. They were down 10 before the half. They threw a touchdown pass to get it close. Davis looked great. He ran the ball well. He caught 2 touchdown passes. And, I thought it was over. When Leary threw that interception and they were able to tie it, that was one of the worst interceptions I've ever seen thrown. And I thought, okay, you let Louisville tie it up. They're the number 10 team in the country. They're going to make you pay. They're going to get the ball and win the game. And I was wrong. Kentucky got it, shook off the mental error, drove down the field, scored the game-winning touchdown. Bob Stoops. Right after that, it was on Twitter. Mark Stoops, my bad. Right after that, it was on Twitter. He was likely going to be the next A&M coach. From what I heard today, the boosters were like, no, we don't want that guy, which I thought he'd been a pretty damn good hire, but whatever. We might get to that in a minute. But he's saying that Kentucky has done so well under that guy. This is a disappointing year, and I would argue that last year was also fairly disappointing. But Kentucky's a much better football team than they were before him.
Absolutely.
So I mean, if you're Kentucky, you're trying to keep them. But hats off to them. This saves their season. Yeah. I mean, this was a huge game for them. They big rivalry, but it saves their season.
What are they, 8-4 now?
I believe so. Yeah.
8-4 for Kentucky. That's a good season. Moving right along, Texas A&M actually showed up today against LSU, but ultimately LSU knocked off Texas A&M 42-30, and Jalen Daniels went off, of course.
He did. He had another great game, as he always does. I still think Bo Nix has just been more impressive in my opinion. Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, they do a lot of the same things. They're capable. They can kill you with their arm. They can kill you with their legs. It basically could be a coin flip in my opinion. But he's a senior, so we'll see what they got next year. But give LSU credit; they needed to beat one more team to get to Atlanta. They just couldn't do it, but they've got a great season.
Yeah.
Hats off to them.
Yeah.
And they got I think 3 losses, so Ole Miss will get that at large.
Peach Bowl probably.
Yeah, they'll get that at large New Year's Six bowl bid.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think between the two of them, Missouri's deserving as well.
Yeah.
I think Missouri is higher
Yeah, they're
ranked.
9th ranked, so they'll make sure.
So they might, but they'll probably get this. I still think they might go to Citrus Bowl. Well, we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, we'll know more about
it's too early to kind of talk about bowls.
Yeah. Arizona State. Arizona knocked off Arizona State 59-23.
Arizona's playing some good football. Yeah. Good for them. I didn't really watch too much of this game. I watched them last week against Utah. They're playing really well.
They're going to the Big 12 next year, aren't they?
Yes, and I'm really hoping that both of these Arizona schools can get turned around. When they're good, at least competitive, like 9-win seasons, football, college football, so much more fun. Because for a long time, they've just been kind of counted out as a win when you're playing.
But if you've been to like Phoenix, and I've never been to Tucson, but I mean, Arizona's a good place to go watch football. Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Notre Dame knocked off Stanford. Your hated team.
Way to go, Irish! Way to go!
And they managed to salvage their season. They're 18th in the country.
Yeah, didn't even watch any of this game. Really didn't have any desire to. Notre Dame kind of is what they are. They were definitely not what I thought they were. I thought they were going to be better. But hats off to them. You beat Stanford, and you get a clap from me.
Kansas State got knocked off by Iowa State in the snow,
42-35.
It was fun. I watched this game.
I'm watching that Iowa State running back, and I kept thinking, this dude's going to slip and fall. He's going to the end zone. He's going to slip and fall. Oh, great game to watch. So much fun. I love those snow games. Haven't really seen a lot of those this year, unfortunately. Would have liked to have seen a few more, but that was a fun game to watch.
It's just the way it shakes out.
Yeah, and Kansas State's a good football team. It kind of sucks that they lost. Good for Iowa State, though. Yeah. Kansas State could have been poised to have quite a nice season, and they had to drop the last one.
That is what it is. Oklahoma State punches their ticket to the Big 12 championship game against Texas by beating BYU 40-34.
They were down, I think, 24-6, something like that, at halftime. They came back and won. I expect them to fight Texas tooth and nail next week for one quarter. And
yeah.
And then Texas is going to take it to them.
Pretty much. North Carolina knocks off NC State 39-20.
No, NC State beat North Carolina.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm a little off today. 39-20, NC State knocked off North Carolina.
9-win season for the Wolfpack, quietly. Brennan Armstrong had a huge game. I don't think he's that good, but he played a great game when it mattered. North Carolina, man, like they just do it every year. I have hopes for them, and then they just drop a bunch of them, and it's like a snowball effect. They drop one that they shouldn't have, then there's a few more. Not saying they shouldn't have dropped this one, because NC State's a solid football team. But they could have won. They had enough guys to win this game.
It just doesn't make any sense to me, though. North Carolina that second half of their seasons have just been god-awful.
There's enough guys in the Carolinas, North and South, Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia. There's enough guys that they can recruit at a high enough level to compete and be better than what they are. I really like North Carolina. I'd love to see them be really good. I'd love to see them join the SEC, to be honest with you. I'd love to see both of these teams join the SEC. I don't think it's ever going to happen. But credit to North Carolina State. This is a really, really nice season they put together, and they're going bowling. 9-3.
Clemson knocked off South Carolina 16-7.
Ugly game. Yeah. One of Clemson's touchdowns I thought was a little controversial. The little behind the line pass. They ruled a fumble, pick it up, touchdown. Kind of righting the wrongs from last year. Clemson has won the last, 5 games in a row when their season was basically ruined. They were able to beat Notre Dame. They went on a tear after that. They're not winning by big. They're just playing well enough to win the game. Doing whatever you have to do to win. Got to give them hats off. They're going to finish the season ranked number 24 and go to a bowl game. Might win, might not. I would guess they're probably going to win the bowl game. Finish somewhere around 20 in the nation, which is a huge, huge improvement from what we saw early in the season.
Well, I guess we'll move on to next week's games.
Yeah, there was some other really cool games. It's rivalry week, so there's a lot of really cool games. A lot of teams that aren't ranked, like Colorado, Utah. That wasn't really a rivalry. That was a good game to watch. Yeah. Really, really disappointing season in Colorado, but 4 wins, which is a hell of a lot better than one from last year or none.
Well, they just they ran into the buzzsaw that was the Pac-12.
Yes, but this Wisconsin-Minnesota game for Paul Bunyan's Axe, really cool rivalry. Just because the two teams are unranked doesn't mean it doesn't really lessen the rivalry.
There's a lot of guys that will never play football.
Exactly, and the game matters to these guys. So it was fun to watch. I tuned into that a little bit. Watched that. I love just that axe. That's my favorite trophy for any of the rivalry games out there. That big ass axe. I love it. There's a lot of cool ones. That was my favorite one.
All right. Let's go ahead and go to next week's games. The championship weekend. If it loads.
I think there's one on Friday, isn't there?
Yes,
there is the Pac-12 championship. Yeah, there's 2 of them, but the big one, Pac-12 championship, 8 o'clock, ABC, Oregon, and with Washington. That's going to be, I think that's going to be the game that is going to be the most interesting. It'll be, all of them have technically playoff implications. The loser's out, right? But so you kind of really can call all of them like Texas, Oklahoma State. Texas loses. It's basically a playoff game. However, let's be real. The 2 big ones are the Pac-12 championship game and the SEC championship game, and I think this one's gonna be the best out of all of them. I'm picking Oregon to win.
I am as well. This is a play-in game. Winner is in.
Yep. I think Oklahoma State, Texas. Like I said, Oklahoma State should play them well for one quarter. I think Texas athletes will take over. And Texas will punch their ticket to the playoffs.
I disagree.
You don't think Texas is getting in?
Texas needs chaos to happen to get in right now. Because if Alabama beats Georgia, Alabama's getting in.
Yes, even though Texas beat Alabama, I think it'll give them a quality win. You beat the number 1 team in the country, you're probably getting in. And I predict Alabama's going to beat Georgia.
Yeah. You need Michigan or Florida State to get knocked off for Alabama for Texas to get in. You need chaos to take place.
And I think that ACC championship game between Florida State and Louisville is going to get that much better now. Louisville having lost to Kentucky, Florida State not having Travis, they didn't look invincible against Florida. They pulled it out. That's what elite teams do. We already talked about that. But this game is going to be pretty difficult. I don't think it's going to be as easy as everyone kind of thought it was going to be before the injury to Jordan Travis. I still think Florida State's going to win this game, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them get beat. Yeah. And then you'll have probably Texas in.
Yeah.
Because I do see you. I didn't mean to interrupt. You're talking about chaos.
Yeah.
For Ohio State to get in, there needs to be chaos.
Ohio State's gone. They're not getting in.
Under any circumstance. It's feasible.
Yeah.
But not mathematically. Do not count them out, my friend.
But with a 1% chance.
Yeah, but I still think Texas. If Florida State loses, they're getting in.
Maybe.
Obviously they'll get. I still think they still have what would be the second best win in the nation, and that would be. And when I say second, that's saying if Alabama beats Georgia.
Right.
Texas beat Alabama, who was ranked number 3 at the time, in Alabama. Yeah. That, as of this moment, is the best win in the country.
Right.
You could maybe argue Michigan for Ohio State.
So before you came over, I was watching Matthew Berry's Sunday Bloody Sunday, and he was talking about how Alabama beats Georgia, Alabama and Georgia are getting in.
I think that's possible. I think that'll play out. They're the number 1 team in the country. The committee goes by eye test. They saw what they did to a top 10 ranked Ole Miss team. They saw what they did on the road to a ranked Tennessee team. They saw what they did at home to a top 12 Missouri team. They've seen what Georgia can do when Georgia's healthy. They let out Ohio State in last year after losing, and they didn't even make the conference championship game. The same thing happened a couple years ago. Georgia's number 1. Alabama comes in and beats them, blows them out of the water. They still put them in at 4, and Georgia won the national championship. Right. There's precedent for it to happen. We'll talk about that next week when we do the recap of these games in the playoff.
There's a lot of things up in there. A lot of still undefeated teams that probably shouldn't be undefeated.
Yeah, and there are teams, and the playoff committee has done this before. They set it up where they make it so it's easy for them to justify somebody jumping another team. And it's easy for them to justify a team losing, not dropping far enough out.
So, I mean, like Florida State, if they beat Louisville, they find a way to beat Louisville. I mean, it's hard to not have them in.
Exactly.
But we know
the number 5 team in the country beat the number 10 team in the country. They should get in.
Right. But I don't know how that's going to shake out because they have not looked good, especially since Jordan Travis has been out. That's just, it's basically you're lining them up to take the L.
I have a feeling that if looking at this right here, Michigan wins, Alabama wins, Florida State wins, and Texas wins, I think the team sitting outside might be Texas, just due to the strength of schedule.
Yeah, I agree.
You never know. Yeah. That's why it really ain't up to us.
It's going to be pure chaos.
But I'll tell you what, this could be shaping up for a really cool playoff. The nation does not want Alabama in. I'm pretty confident.
They can be anybody on the schedule.
Everybody is going to be rooting for Georgia. This could be a really cool playoff. This could be the first time Texas gets in. Could be the second time both Oregon and Washington get in. They've both been in the playoffs once before. Florida State's only been in the playoff once before. This could be a playoff field, and Michigan's been in twice. This could be a playoff field where you have a couple of teams making their second appearance. This could be a playoff where one team's making their first appearance, and you could have Georgia and Michigan making their this will be Michigan's third, Georgia's fourth, or you could have Alabama making their 157th appearance into the college football playoff.
There's 8 teams right now with a possibility of getting in this thing. So we'll see what happens next week.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, you guys have a great week, and we'll be here next Sunday to do it again.
That's it.